Hello, welcome. I think we're live. There's always a little bit of a delay here. Hello, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Happy Wednesday. Happy Balanced Wellness Wednesday with Beth. If you're catching the replay here on YouTube, please know you can use the chapters that are included below to jump ahead. And if you've been considering joining us live, but maybe usually at this time when I go live, you are driving home or cooking dinner or whatever you do at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for you, you can always sign on. You can use the YouTube app. You can plug in your headphones and you can have it playing in the background, kind of like a podcast, and you can keep going about your business. But if you want to be engaged in the conversation or make sure you have questions answered, I would love that. So please join us. If you haven't been able to join us live and you are with me tonight, welcome. Hello, JBX. Hello, Shoshona. I'm so excited for what I've got for you tonight. Please don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, leave a comment on the main video post. And of course, as always, I encourage you and I'm very appreciative if you share this with folks, anyone else that you think might benefit from the content that I share here on my YouTube channel. I really appreciate all of you that join us live. If you are new here or aren't familiar with me, my name is Beth. I'm a certified functional nutritionist. I'm certified in functional nutritional therapy and nutritional psychology. I am a registered yoga instructor. I'm a mindfulness coach, and I'm currently completing my CPT with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I help all of my clients navigate mindset and behavior changes with their health, their nutrition, and fitness with compassion, grace, and ease. As always, I'm excited to just connect with all of you and chat and discuss, and as part of these weekly series, just a fun opportunity to learn and to grow and to just dig deeper into all things fitness, fun, nutrition, habit change, mindfulness, mindset, all this good stuff. And as always, each and every week, we're diving into a different topic and lots of space to share and ask questions. So I encourage you, if you are joining me live or if you're catching the replay later, to ask any questions. If there's things that you'd like me to discuss in the future, please feel free to use the chat box. And I'd love to dive into some of this. Before we get started, I do want to take a moment to ask if you've had anything in particular that maybe you've been focusing on this summer. I know summer tends to be, I'm seeing this a lot with my one-on-one clients and my group folks. Summer's very busy. I know folks are on the go and traveling, and people have house guests and they're going to weddings and they're just everywhere and anywhere at all given times. And so often it's not a time of year that people are typically introducing new habits. But I also know for a lot of folks, there's a lot of stuff that slows down. If you have kiddos, maybe they're not in school, so it's a different routine. Maybe it's a little easier, maybe it's not. But I'd love to hear if there's been anything in particular you've been focusing on this summer with your health, with your wellness. Maybe our weekly get-togethers here have inspired you to prioritize some of your nutrition habits or make changes with your fitness. So I'd love if you took a moment, again, whether you're joining me live here on the broadcast or catching the replay, to maybe share what you've been focusing on. I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, right? JBX. You mentioned, I think it was last week, that you've been focusing on increasing your protein intake, and I love that. And Shoshona, I know you've shared at different points that you were working on introducing more fitness and getting to the gym and working out. But I'd love to hear if you're working on anything in particular, and just anything that maybe you've added to your routines or when you want to celebrate with us from this summer. For me, the focus this summer has been increasing my cardio workouts, which, to know me is to know I love strength training and lifting weights. And I don't love cardio. I know how important it is and I know I need to do it. So it is something I always focus on, but I've really been making a lot more space this summer and each week in my workouts to hit the Peloton or to do more Metcon focused workouts. And it's been really cool. I love with strength how we get to see the incremental increases in the weight that we're lifting and we get to see the growth and change in those ways. I think cardio sometimes is a little harder to measure, but I do love seeing, things that my coach challenges me with each week, how my capacity increases, how my endurance increases, how my recovery improves each and every week. And so it's been really awesome for me to see that. And it's been a challenge because I don't love the cardio. Shoshona said, making changes with my habits thanks to inspiration from Beth. I love that. And JBX said, correct. Awesome. So let's dive in. Today, I'm going to share 7 common nutrition mistakes that I constantly see people making. And before we jump in, as always, I just want to clarify up front that these are just simply some of the most common pitfalls that I've come across in my years of working with clients and diving into the world of functional nutrition and nutritional psychology. But here's the thing. This is not intended, as always, to be like an exhaustive list. I could probably go on and on with various things I see people doing that are hurting their goals or the results that they're after. JBX said, getting a routine has been hard, but I just started helping coach soccer, so I'm getting more exercise and I'm grateful for that opportunity. And you said that, JBX said, love that you also have a coach. Absolutely. Coaches need coaches. I've had business coaches. I have a coach I train with in the gym 1 to 2 times a week and have been with him since, I think it was 2015 or 16. I can't even remember anymore. I think it's important to have support and I think accountability. It's why, doing the work that I do, I'm so grateful for and honored that people choose me to join them in their journey and to help them along the way, because it's hard. It's hard to do this stuff. Something we'll probably talk about at some point here on these live broadcasts is intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And part of why I love having a coach is I know I struggle to do certain things in the gym, not physically, but mentally, like pushing myself to those limits. And, while I know I physically have the capacity to do certain things, we slack on ourselves. I can always come up with an excuse if I'm looking for one, why to not do the intense stuff or to do another round or to push myself with a heavy weight. And what I love about having a coach is, and just people to support you in whatever, nutrition, fitness, soccer, is that they'll often see your potential at the times that you don't see it. And I think that that's a really powerful thing to have in your journey. So again, as we talk about what we're talking about tonight, I'm just aiming to shed some light on some of these more common mistakes that I see people making because, I'm a big fan of knowledge and education, and knowledge is power. So if you are ready to uncover some of the roadblocks that might be holding you back from your best self, get a drink, get cozy, get a snack if you need one, and let's dive in. And as I start off this list, I would also love to hear maybe if you would share, maybe you don't know what it is yet, maybe some of what I'll share tonight will shine a light on it, but I would love to hear what the biggest nutrition mistake you've ever made is that you know of or that you're aware of. I'd love to hear if you're kind of maybe just recently out of one or maybe one you recognize you've made several years back. Edward said, can't you decrease the time between lifting sets to increase your heart rate and get a cardio during strength training? Absolutely. And it's part of what I do when I'm doing those more Metcon style workouts. I will decrease weight, increase reps, decrease rest time. Absolutely. And that's a big part of the cardio I've been focusing on. But I also like to kind of play around with different zones. And so like steady state zone 2 on the Peloton, or, for some people it's running, and I'm so jealous of people that can run and feel good doing it. So yeah, there's levels, but absolutely you're 100% right, Edward. Changing up the way in which you're weightlifting or strength training can absolutely bring an element of cardio for sure. And that's one of the things that I often do because I don't love traditional cardio. I love the blend of it. So that's a really great question and an amazing point. So I'd love to hear if you would share any maybe big nutrition mistakes you've made. And I will tell you, whether again you're joining me live or catching us on the replay, please make sure you stick around to number 7 on this list, because I think it'll probably shock you that I would consider this to be a mistake that people are making, but I actually think it's quite catastrophic, and I don't even think it's considered by most people as something that they might be struggling with. So let's dive right in to the first common mistake that I see people making with their nutrition. And number 1 is, and this is something you've heard me probably speak about before in different places or in different words, but let's kick things off with kind of a practical mistake that I think is far too common. And that is skipping out on building a solid nutritional foundation. Edward said, right, running is the worst. It is. I really truly want to love running, and I want to introduce and do more running. There are parts of it that I think are so amazing, like being outside, being in nature, being in the world, and getting your exercise done, which this is why I walk every single day, because it's as close as I can come. I have several herniated discs in my back, and I have some hip problems because she's an old lady. And running, just no matter how many times I try, no matter how much prep work I do and training, like it feels like a burning pile of hot garbage. And so every day when I'm on my walks, I see people running and they look like beautiful gazelles, and there's so little effort. Today, a girl ran right by me and she just was hardly glistening and she didn't look like she was struggling a bit. And I'm just like, God bless you, because I would be like, everything hurts. Shoshona said, I can't be a runner. My ankles roll. Yeah, it's like I said, I think if you have a body that, and this is what's so beautiful about exercise and fitness and nutrition and physical activity, is that like there is no one size fits all, and what works for one person isn't going to work for another. And finding what works for you is so important because all of our bodies are so unique. I want to love running. It just doesn't work for me. And I know people who want to love, weightlifting with a barbell or complex, like barbell. What is the word? I just lost it. Barbell complexes or like Olympic lifting, and it's not for them. And I love that stuff. So I think it's just knowing what's for you. So getting back to point number one, that you have not built a solid nutritional foundation. So imagine this. I love a good analogy. And this is, again, something you've probably heard from me before. Imagine this. You are strolling along a sidewalk, or maybe you're on a run on a sidewalk, and you spot a pile of nickels on the ground. You see a whole pile of nickels. And you're like, I'm going to pick those nickels up because, oh my God, who doesn't love free money? But here's the plot twist. You actually stepped right over a stack of crisp $100 bills just to grab those nickels. That's crazy, right? Like, who would do that? That's kind of what you're doing when you become far too focused on like flashy interventions and new diet trends. You know, there's a new thing every year, or things that stick around a little longer, and keto and Atkins diet and low carb this or low fat this, or maybe you're going carnivore now, or whatever it is, that promise you these things, that promise you incredible results in nearly an instant, right? And then of course there's the supplements that everyone online's raving about that are going to solve all of your problems. Do I need this greens powder? Do I need these electrolytes that everyone's drinking? Now it's colostrum to heal your gut. Oh, and then don't forget, you probably should be buying all these fancy functional lab tests that you can order from home that come with a hefty price tag. All of this, right? All of this are nickels. And, you're stepping over the $100 bills if you're not building a solid nutritional foundation. And don't get me wrong, there are times and places. There is a time and a place for all of these things for some people. I use clinical grade supplements in my practice with clients all the time, but they are being used as they're intended to supplement a solid nutritional foundation. I will use lab testing with clients, right? I think when it makes sense and we're in need of additional information or to continue digging into possible root causes, a really great piece of data that we can get from things like lab testing. But it isn't ever going to be our starting point, and I don't think it's the most important place to start because it's a nickel. If you do not have a rock solid foundation in place, you're trying to build a house that's going to withstand the test of time and the edge of a windy cliff on top of a pile of loose sand. And by the way, you don't have bricks and 2x4s. So you're essentially throwing away all this time and money and energy when you could really start with the most important kind of foundational base and the pillars first. So it's asking yourself before you get into supplements and testing and all these things, like, are you truly nourishing your body with the right amount of food for your body's needs? So not too much and not too little, right? In that sweet spot for you to be able to navigate the world with all the demands you're placing on your body. How's your macronutrient balance? Are you getting enough of the important and essential micronutrients that your body needs from nutrient-dense whole foods like plant foods and high-quality animal products? Are you giving your body the movement it craves, as we were talking about already, with regular exercise? both strength training, resistance training, however it works for you, and cardio. And then sleep. If you're not sleeping, you can take all the best supplements in the world. It's not going to fix the stress that your body's under. So how's your shut-eye, right? How are you managing your stress? That matters too. So we want to think of our foundation as like the cornerstone of our health journey, because without it, all those fancy interventions just might not offer you the change that you're looking for. So as I always say, stop stepping over $100 bills to pick up nickels. Edward said, one mistake I made years ago was trying Atkins, but never went into full ketosis. So just increased my fat intake and protein, LOL. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, this is where a lot of times people are like hardcore proponents of one of these sort of protocols. Sorry, my camera's not focusing on me. We're blurry. Why does this camera do this? It wants to focus maybe on my microphone. We don't know. It just looks like you're not wearing glasses while we're watching me. Wait, let's do this. There we go. We're better. Okay. We don't want a blurry face. I did my hair and makeup tonight. A lot of these things that people are huge proponents of, all of these diets, like a lot of them, the mechanism behind why they work is we're creating a calorie deficit, right? And that leads to people seeing changes in their physical body and potentially feeling better. And there's more than one way to skin a cat, and whatever works for you, works for you. We've talked about this before here. But if you're not doing it as intended, or you're missing the key points, or you're missing nutrients, or you're not sleeping, you can Atkins all you want. You can ketosis all you want. You can low fat eat all you want. You can Weight Watchers all you want. You can do all the things. But if you're not sleeping, you're not getting enough of the important nutrients your body needs, like it kind of doesn't matter. So, pick your poison, but try not to focus on the things that aren't as important. Yeah, a helpful analogy. I'm so glad it works for you. So let's talk about number 2. Number 2 is you are mimicking others and not mastering yourself. So again, I think this is a mistake many of us have fallen into at some point. This is following arbitrary rules or food rules, or trying to mimic what maybe works for someone else that we know. Hey, my friend at work started doing Atkins or keto or this or Weight Watchers or, whatever. And you think, I'm going to do that too because it worked for them. So again, picture this. You are handed a set of instructions on what to eat, on what to avoid, on exactly precisely how much to consume. And I've talked about this before. I understand why we desire this and the how enticing this can be. It's always helpful to have rules and guidelines and structure, to have clarity and a plan so you know what your steps are. And it might work for your friend or your colleague or some influencer you find online, but you have to make sure that it truly aligns with your individual needs right now and your personal core values and your why. Like, why are you doing this work? If you're just cutting out foods left and right, or embarking on like outlandish practices and trying to mirror someone else's eating habits, probably not going to get you where you want. And this is part of why I kind of hate those what I eat in a day posts that are all over the internet these days. And part of why I rarely show a full day of my eating online is not because I'm trying to gatekeep or keep secrets from people, but what I've seen time and time again, because I have the pleasure of speaking to so many people in this community in different places and in my groups and with one-on-one folks, time and time again, what I see is that what works for one person doesn't work for another. And what's really magical, the magical sort of sweet spot or magical formula for one person isn't for another. And I've actually had folks reach out to me when I have shared something that I'm eating and I'm loving, and they're saying, oh, I ate this because I saw you ate it, so I figured it's Beth approved. And here's the issue. So I'm going to use an example. Like, I have clients who are on a fat loss journey and they're working on a fat loss journey with me, and they see something I'm eating. Now, if I'm crushing a whole bunch of high intensity workouts, we were just talking about Metcons and cardio and weightlifting. If I am crushing several high intensity workouts a week, if I've upped my steps to say 15,000 a day, if I'm weightlifting 4 times a week, and you're watching what I'm eating on my Instagram stories, and you're currently sedentary, you're not working out at all. Maybe you're working on increasing your movement. Maybe you're barely hitting 3,000 steps a day and your goal for the next few weeks is 5,000. Maybe you're just slowly getting into some sort of exercise at the gym. And I think everybody has their starting place. And this isn't a judgment of I'm better and you're not. But if you're in a sedentary place in your life and maybe you're currently working through insulin resistance, what I'm eating right now is probably not going to align for what you need to be eating. They're two different things, right? Your personal biology, your physiology, your genetics, your movement patterns, these are unique to you. So why would you expect why would you expect to achieve the same results by following somebody else's blueprint? It's like comparing apples to oranges, right? Or you might be comparing your week 3, which is so important and so valid in your journey, to their year 3 in their journey. And they might be working on much more advanced nutritional strategies, and you haven't yet even established those foundations that we just talked about. You also aren't seeing everything that's happening behind the scenes on social media. And let's kind of not even talk about the fact that everything gets like over edited and polished down to like some, edited version of reality for things to look good in those what I eat in a day posts on TikTok. They're the worst there, unfortunately. So all of our real lives, all of our journeys, they're raw and they're super wonderfully messy and beautifully imperfect, but we don't want to be trying to achieve what someone else is achieving. And I love what Jeremy said here, which is even what worked for me in the past may not work for me right now. That's a great point. Or maybe you're repeating something I said, but yes, absolutely true. I know for me, what I did, how I was eating and how I was living before the pandemic, and I was feeling good and thriving when the pandemic hit, when life changed, when my stress levels went high, as I got deeper into my 40s, things changed. And what previously worked, and I'm not even talking again about fat loss or body, I'm talking about how I feel, it changed. So when you craft a plan that is in sync with your own core values and your goals, and you understand the why behind your choices, this can help you to feel less afraid of breaking free from arbitrary food rules that just don't resonate with you and creating a more personalized plan. You have to personalize your nutrition. And that's, again, a little plug for what I teach inside of both Empowered Nourishment, which is my self-guided program, as well as what we cover in the Trust and Thrive Academy, which is the small group program that we do that's starting again in September. I use this analogy a lot, but I really liken it to those choose your own adventure books from the 80s or 90s when some of us were children, where you get to a point and you decide what is for me and what is not for me. How do I want this story to be written? How do I want this story to go for me? And making those choices so it is unique to you. So number 3, mistakes that we see Number 3, mistakes that we typically see people making with their nutrition. We've talked about this again at other points, but you are overcommitting with an all or nothing mindset. How many of you know that this is something you've struggled with? Again, we're going to talk about some nuance here, but how many of us have been like, all right, starting tomorrow, I'm going to get on track. I'm going to do the things I need to do to get healthy, to lose weight, to feel good. And we go all in. But we pair that all-in mentality with this all or nothing thinking, this all or nothing mindset. And it's this really tricky trap that a lot of us can stumble into. And it's that sort of like, again, I like to imagine scenarios. You are determined to make a change. You are like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to give it my all. And you have amazing intentions. You have the best of intentions. It's all really well intended. So you dive headfirst into an intense regimen, swearing off your bad, quote unquote, your bad habits overnight. Starting tomorrow, they're all gone. But here's the reality check is that if you take on too much too soon, it can lead to burnout, exhaustion, and even that disappointment. And it often rebounds, unfortunately, into us going, I don't even know what to do anymore, and going right back to where you started all of this. And it could be in a few days, it could be a week, or even a year. So you're going all in, but are you going all in with yourself? So instead of striving for perfection out of the gate from the get-go, I think it's really important that we think about how we can meet ourselves. This is something I talk about a lot. How can we meet ourselves where we're at? How can we meet ourselves where we're at? Who would do that or take that approach? I'm sure you're being facetious, Mark, because you know that that's so many people. So many people, but lots of people. And I've done it and we've all done it, right? So instead of sort of trying to go all the way in, how can we meet ourselves where we're at? and shift from like big monumental life altering changes and the expectations of that to tiny, tolerable, but aligned habits repeated day after day, one at a time, and build. And these are the ones you can seamlessly integrate into your daily life, into the life you already have. And most importantly, to sustain over the long haul. Mark said, that me. Again, not just you, but maybe I've seen you do that before, but I've probably seen everybody in my life do it. And I've done it. I think it's just part of being a human, because here's the thing is this stuff I'm talking about, the tiny, the tolerable, the baby steps, the make it easy so you can keep doing it. It's super boring. It's super unsexy. And we need to stop and think less about what should I be doing or what is optimal, like where do I want to end up, and really think about what resonates with me right now, and that you are unanimously, go back to the video about the big nutrition question to ask yourself, that you are unanimously ready, able, and willing to do right now. And it's the concept, I love the idea of like minimal effective dose. Start small, test the waters, build from there. Like, what is the most babyest step I can do here? And I know I can do for at least a week. And here's something I want to touch on, because I don't often touch on this point, but I often hear that people want fast results because they want that initial buy-in, right? They want to see something change so that they have the motivation to keep going. So a little golden nugget for you folks, if you're someone who thrives on instant big results, or you tend to lose interest really quickly, guess what? There's always a strategy for you too. And what you need to do is know that about yourself and plan for and create a strategy that offers a big buy-in, but you have to be sure that the plan also includes, a graceful transition into sustainable habits after that big buy-in. So whether that's a month of, some people are like, I'm going to do a Whole30. I'm going to do a reset. I'm going to eat keto for 30 days. I'm going to cut my calories lower than I plan to in the long run, but I want to see something change so I can get that big buy-in. If you are that person, lean into it, but have a secondary plan of where you're going to go from there. So you're feeling highly motivated, but you know that motivation may wax and wane, because that's what it does. So go all out in the beginning if you need to. Give it your all for a short period. See some initial results. Take that, use it as momentum, and build. And instead of burning out or losing steam, know that you've planned for that and you've got a plan in place to transition into something that's more manageable and more balanced and more aligned. I don't think a big buy-in for a lot of people is appropriate, but if you know that about yourself, lean into it. That's core values, right? And plan for it. Don't pretend somehow this time it's not going to happen to you. Plan for it. Play the long game. So trade that all or nothing mentality for a strategy that's tailored to you, your pace, and your kind of ultimate success. And I'd love to hear, if you're on the live with me, if you are someone that needs that big buy-in, if you are someone that if you don't see something change rather quickly, you're not going to keep going. So this is another one I see rather frequently, and that is a mistake that people make is you are too focused on aesthetics or making yourself smaller. Or said differently, the big nutrition mistake is you are focused solely on aesthetics and making yourself smaller. And again, I'm not here to judge anyone. Body autonomy is body autonomy. You want to achieve fat loss or make changes to your body composition, you're a grown-ass adult, as I like to say. You can do what you wish with your body. If you have aspiration to shed body weight, to become smaller, to then, if it starts to become about a certain number on the scale, or your clothing needs to be a certain size, it's a goal many of us have had at different points. But here's the catch. When we narrow our focus solely only on the aesthetics, we can miss the bigger picture, and changing the size of our body and the appearance of our body doesn't guarantee health or happiness or a better life. So if you're pouring all of the energy that you have and that you're making changes with in your nutrition simply on losing fat and getting smaller, are you also considering the rest? Are you thinking about all of the other things that you are looking to see improvements with? Are there other things that you know need to change besides just the appearance of your body? Are you giving equal attention to creating sustainable habits, to getting stronger, to building muscle so you can kind of increase your longevity and just support metabolism and support your aging and your health of your immune system and all of these things we're always talking about, and just nurturing resilience of your body? JBX said, I think the previous point is me, but I'd also want accountability or even a competition. Yeah, I think that it's okay to know that about yourself. I am a competitive person. I mean, there's a lot of, JBX said, is this a Biggest Loser pitfall? I mean, Biggest Loser has a lot of pitfalls. They did some very extreme things that caused like significant metabolic adaptation for a lot of the participants, which for some they never recovered from. For some, the bounce back was catastrophic. That's a whole conversation. But absolutely, the focus being only on aesthetics can really take us away from how we want to feel and how can we support our body in feeling its best. Oh, I started to reflect on what you said, Jeremy, about the competition. I know I'm a competitive person, and one of the things I like about having a coach is he knows this about me, and when we're doing certain drills or certain time, speed, reps, I'll make him tell me what my previous one was or what he wants me to shoot for, because I want to beat my last time. I'm very self-competitive in the weightlifting program that I follow. The rest of the time when I'm not in the gym with my coach, when I'm in a strength building cycle and I'm looking at PR, like I'm putting my stuff up on the leaderboard virtually because I want to see how I rate. And when I see people kind of right at the edge, or the app will tell me if you do this much more, you'll beat 40% of the people, that's really enticing to me. And I lean into that. I don't fight it. So yeah, absolutely. The accountability and competition and knowing that about yourself. So again, I touched on bodily autonomy, but we all have the power to possess, the power, to set whatever goals that we want for ourselves. And you absolutely have the right to want to change your body if you want to transform in any ways that bring you joy and bring you confidence. There's absolutely no denying that. But if the pursuit of aesthetics, if the pursuit of appearance becomes your sole driving force, this could potentially lead you down a path of disappointment if you don't achieve the very specific goals you had for yourself, of really significant struggles. We talked about this last week when a really wonderful question came in from, I think, Brian, about it never being enough. And often we'll withhold our happiness and our joy until we achieve some specific goal or size or appearance metric. And we then assume we're only worthy when we achieve that specific outcome. So it's all about finding balance. And it's also recognizing that your body is capable of so much more than just looking a certain way. And it's acknowledging that aesthetics are not a reflection of our health and our well-being. So embrace your desire for physical change if this is something you wish for, but just do it with open eyes and a well-rounded perspective. And just whatever your goals are, just know your body deserves to be nourished and strengthened and celebrated for what it is, and not just how it looks. This is a big one. I would love to hear how many of you have experienced this. Number 5 of the top 7 nutrition mistakes I see people make is that you give up too soon. So giving up on your plan because it maybe doesn't seem like it's working as quickly as you had hoped. Does that sound familiar to any of you, that you didn't give it enough time and early in you're just like, this isn't working? So if it is you, I want you to know you're not alone. And also, before you throw in the towel, you also have to think about maybe this perspective shift that could change the game for you. So again, picture this. You start a new plan and you are eager to see big, jaw-dropping results, right? And things don't unfold exactly as quickly as you envisioned, and then doubt starts creeping. I don't think this is working. What did I do wrong? Maybe I didn't try hard enough. Maybe I need to go harder. You start to base your assumption on fleeting feelings, which can change from day to day. We all know this about ourselves. Or just what you see in the mirror, rather than maybe actually having measurable feedback from your body or measurable data. I love for my clients, if they're on a journey with their health, especially if they are on, say, a fat loss journey, to not just worry about measurements and size and scale weight, but to also keep track of how their sleep habits are changing. How's their stress levels? How is your inflammation? How's your energy? How are your moods, right? Looking at blood work and seeing if you're seeing improvements there. We can see changes in our health without seeing changes in the mirror? What are the patterns and the trends over time of a series of months? Tracking things like scale weight, if that is something you're working towards, or body measurements. It's cold, hard facts, or kind of the bigger picture, right? So if we're just basing it, oh, this isn't working on like one fleeting day or one look in the mirror or one step on the scale, and not really looking at all of these other factors, I think this is true no matter what, whether you're working on improving your digestion, seeing changes in blood sugar markers, improving your cholesterol numbers, changes in hormones, fat loss. I see it time and time again. You change a few things and it's 6 weeks in and your whole life hasn't changed yet. So you quit. It's not working. I quit. And here's the truth bomb, because I'm a big fan of the tough love when you need it. The journey you're on and whatever transformation you're seeking is not an overnight success, and it's not an overnight thing. You don't arrive, like if you're early in your journey right now, you didn't get here in 30 days. You didn't get here in 6 weeks. You didn't get here in 6 months. There have likely been years of you living your life a certain way before you decided it was time for a change. So why would you expect that you can get a quick exit from it? And I know, as I said, I know that's a little bit of tough love, but I do think if we A, manage our expectations, and B, kind of separate ourselves from the before and after pictures that our whole internet is flooded with, social media is flooded with, because we don't get to see everything that happens between the before and the after. We don't often see the time that it takes to get there. So it's asking yourself, do I want fast results or do I want lasting results? And I know you're going to say I want both. And maybe there's a way to find that. Go back to what I talked about that buy-in, if that's something you need. But for most people, my guess is you would like to see lasting results. In a year from now, in 2 years from now, whatever you're hoping to achieve, you'd like to be able to sustain that. And in order to do that, you have to have patience. And every day you're making choices. Every day you're taking a step towards your goals. You are essentially casting little micro votes for the person who you want to become and the identity you're working to uphold. And it isn't just about patience. It's also about persistence. It's about still showing up when the days feel hard because you didn't achieve your goals already. It's putting in the work and trusting the process, even when things seem like they're moving at a snail's pace. And knowing if you're on a slow ass train, I love an analogy. If you're on a slow ass train, it's chugging along and you got on at platform A and you're trying to get to platform B, and it's not a high speed train. It is a slow ass train from God knows when, and it just chugs along. I know you'd rather be on the high speed train. Who wouldn't want to be on that high speed train? But isn't it still a better choice to be on the slow train than to just go, I'm not getting there fast enough, getting off the train tracks and walking all the way the hell back, or getting on a speed train and going all the way back to point A, right? If you're on that slow train and you're somewhere between A and B, you are still heading towards B. And we don't want to get off the train just because it's not getting there as fast. You have to acknowledge that you're still moving in the direction you want to go, and just slow down and be okay with the slowdown, and acknowledge it takes time. And it's often a culmination of those small, consistent actions that you take every day. And it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? So if you're feeling tempted to give up because you aren't seeing instant fireworks, I just encourage you to remember that progress is inevitable as long as you keep showing up, and know that it's a journey of growth and resilience and just daily determination that's going to get you there. Let's move on to point 6 of common nutrition mistakes I see. And again, this is why I do so much work around mindset and habits. Common nutrition mistake is that you overlook your mindset and your habits. And I think a conversation about nutrition and nutrition mistakes wouldn't be complete without this fundamental aspect of the work that I do. We talk about this inside of all of my programs, all of my courses, and most especially in the work that I do one-on-one with folks. I get it. It's so easy to get caught up in the nitty gritty of what's on our plate, and am I eating enough protein, and how am I moving my body? And obviously that stuff matters. But if you're only focusing on those external factors, you might be missing this really crucial piece of the puzzle. So you're on a journey and you've got your nutrition and your exercise routines down pat, right? Imagine all of that's in place. But here's the hitch. Your mindset and your habits are playing a silent but significant role behind the scenes, and they are impacting the choices that you're making, your behaviors, and maybe even how your body receives and responds to those actions. So you know what you should be doing. You have it all in place. You've got the nutrition plan. You've got the exercise routine. But in the background, your brain and your mind and these thoughts and your habits are kind of wreaking havoc. So it's remembering that it's not just about calories and macros and even miles run. It's remembering that what's going on in your head and the routines that you engage in every day that really govern your choices and your behaviors. And I also think sometimes it's making sure you're not giving your thoughts more power than they truly deserve. Like those nagging self-doubts or the self-criticism or negative self-talk. And just this is where the magic of, I love this word and I love the concept of neuroplasticity. Our brain is malleable and we are capable of rewiring our brain and our thoughts and creating new pathways and new ways of thinking and new connections. And you actually have the power to transform those old unproductive thoughts and thought patterns into new empowering ones that will support you in achieving the things that you want. You can recognize when your thoughts are steering you off course, when you're giving them too much power, and you can step in and take control again, but you have to have the self-awareness. And a lot of times we're in autopilot mode, right? The state where your thoughts and your beliefs are silently shaping your behaviors and your choices without any conscious awareness. So I think the most important thing we can do is step out of that autopilot mode, take some time to acknowledge the role that our mindset and our thoughts are playing, truly assess how much our mindset is influencing our actions, and also recognize when our thoughts are just, total BS, when they're just not true and we don't have any evidence to support them as such. Jeremy said, you've already mentioned this, but I've honestly never considered stress in this equation, so thank you. And Shoshona has the brain explosion emoji. Yeah, stress is a huge component, both inside of Trust and Thrive Academy and Empowered Nourishment. We have an entire, very robust, gigantic module on stress because I think it is probably the biggest underlying root cause for nearly every dysfunction, disease. I'm not saying it's the only cause, but it's incredible the role that it plays and how frequently I see people ignoring it. So it's really important to recognize that you are not just a collection of your actions. You are a powerhouse of thoughts and beliefs and habits that when they work in harmony, they really work to shape our reality. So when you continue on your journey, it's important to remember to nurture your mindset and to cultivate empowering habits and embrace an incredible transformation. Because if you ignore this and you just chug along, you're kind of leaving a lot on the table. And there's a big part of this journey that you're ignoring. And I think it's a really huge mistake. All right, let's wrap it up with the final common nutrition mistake I see people making. Number 7, there's no joy and no pleasure in your nutrition plan. And I think this is frequently ignored, frequently not considered. And it might seem unsuspecting or unexpected as we're talking about this, but I think it holds an immense amount of importance for sustainability, for consistency, and just for life. Like, I don't think we live this life in a way that is meaningful and powerful if there is not joy and there is not pleasure. So it's making space for finding joy and finding pleasure in whatever your health plan and your wellness plan and your nutrition and fitness plan is. Because it isn't just about counting calories and it isn't about dialing in your micronutrients and your macronutrients. It's about acknowledging and recognizing that nourishment extends beyond numbers and food on your plate. So if you are diving into a meticulously crafted plan, all the numbers are good. Calories in are dialed, calories out are dialed, precision in your micronutrients. But amidst all of these calculations, you've forgotten the joy, the simple things of just like finding pleasure in savoring a meal, or the connection that comes from sharing a nourishing moment with loved ones, or exploring the world and trying new things. I think when people get into this sort of nutrition and fitness mindset, a lot of times they just kind of become little robots and they forget that joy and pleasure still need to be a part of this journey. And, like, for the love of everything, I don't care what your goals are. Put some friggin' sauces and spices and herbs on your food. That alone can bring so much joy to a meal. Bring color to your plate. Bring variety to the foods you buy, because nobody wants bland ass food, and you don't have to eat bland ass food to get results with your nutrition. Ask yourself, have I been so focused on just subtracting when maybe there's something I could be adding? So it's just remembering, and kind of as a closing thought on all of this, is that nourishment isn't just about fueling your body. It's about feeding your soul, and it's about relishing the taste of food, appreciating the textures, and savoring every single bite with mindfulness. And whatever this means for you, everybody's different. It's finding delight in your culinary journey, whether you're cooking it or buying it, or your partner's making it, or you're buying meal kits. Even in the selecting and the preparing and enjoying of the foods, just that you're selecting to nurture you. Because if your plan and your approach is a mathematical equation, I think you miss out on this really crucial aspect of your health, the pleasure that nourishment can bring, and the happiness that comes from treating yourself to a comforting dish or something you grew up with, or that reminds you of home or family, or trying new flavors or connection with others. All of these are part of it. And nourishment isn't just physical. It's this whole encompassing aspect of all of these things: pleasure and joy and connection, and cherishing foods that bring you happiness and help you finding balance in your choices, so that you can actually have a vibrant and fulfilling journey to health, whatever that is for you. So again, I think this is a common thing that gets overlooked, and people just try to white knuckle it through without including some of these, fun foods, pleasure foods, things that you're just eating for pure enjoyment. So as we wrap it up, that's kind of it. Just a look at some of the most common nutrition mistakes that might be holding you back. Everyone's on their own unique journey. And if you are kind of having some of these slip ups, I do think this is an opportunity. And again, this is something I teach inside of all of my programs, to shift your perspective of these quote unquote mistakes and to see them as stepping stones toward growth and understanding. And if you are struggling with them, asking yourself, what can you learn as a result going forward, so that you can kind of continue and take something from this, take something positive from this. And before we part ways, I would also just love to use the chat box again, if you're joining us live or on the replay, to maybe just hear which of these common mistakes resonated most with you. And if you have any insights or experiences that you'd like to share, I encourage you to use the comments in the chat box or the comments below this replay. And while I'm waiting for any questions or shares to come in, it's always a good time for me to tell you about all of the ways that I'm here to support you in whatever that means for you, and all of my coaching options. So if you are ready right now, like I am ready to dive in, to keep learning, to maybe go through a more personalized nutrition plan, and you are someone who's very self-motivated, that's what Empowered Nourishment is. That is my self-guided Nutrition Foundations program. This is my most affordable coaching option. As it is self-guided, you are provided all of the tools and all of the information you need to feel totally supported in your journey towards sustainable health habits without any food rules and without arbitrary restrictions. Again, remember that the analogy of the choose your own adventure, right? You get instant access to everything from foundational nutrition, including what to eat, how much to eat, and when to eat for you. Support for digestion and gut health, an entire module on blood sugar balance, a module on stress management, habit and behavior change, mindset work, emotional eating, and more. There's over 9 modules of learning, over 5 hours of lessons, and 20 plus incredible resources and guides that you get to download, and you get lifetime access to all of that. So that's below in the show notes, the link to get access to it. And you can still get $50 off instantly without a coupon code for the introductory price. You'll also find information in the show notes for signing up for the Trust and Thrive Academy waitlist. We start that again in mid-September, and that is my signature small group 8-week nutritional therapy and nutritional psychology program. And this is where you can learn the foundations of real, long-lasting, sustainable health. You can build a better relationship with food and optimize your health and nutrition at the same time. In a small, intimate community, you have access to me throughout the entire program. I'm there each and every week with you on the group coaching calls. You have options to add on one-on-one time, functional lab testing. If you're thinking about adding some strength training in your life, we are working on adding some workouts for the 8 weeks that you're in the program as well. And lastly, I am taking a few applications for a limited number of one-on-one clients looking to get started in the fall towards their health and nutrition goals. And as always, loads of free content available on my Instagram, on my website, on my email newsletter list that goes out every Sunday. And again, we are here every single Wednesday on the YouTube channel for Balanced Wellness Wednesdays with Beth. Do I have any questions or any thoughts from anyone before we wrap it up? I hope, as always, you learned something tonight from me, that you're taking something away, feeling inspired or ready to take action. I appreciate all of you for being a part of this community and for just striving to live your best life and nourished life and seeking knowledge. I love it. I love being here with all of you. And please, as always, I encourage you to share with me if there's certain topics you would like us to cover in the future. I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope everyone's enjoying the last little bits of summer. We're almost done. I'm going to keep trucking along with my cardio, my attempts at cardio. JBX said several of these apply to me, but number 4 definitely resonates. You are so welcome. So glad you're here. And thanks as always for engaging and chatting and being here. I'm excited for the fall and to see some more faces as we dive into more of a hunker down time of year. I kind of, as I started the call, the broadcast, it's such a busy time. Everyone's just on go, go, go mode. All right. Thank you again. I appreciate all of you. And until next week and until next time, take care of yourselves and be well. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks, Shoshona. I appreciate that.